Welcome back. So now we're going to talk about the problems of the standard American diet, also known as the SAD diet. So you can see on this chart in front of me here that this is the standard American diet. This is what we are, as a population, eating. If you look at this, you can see that 26% of the American diet comes from meat, dairy, and eggs. 23% comes from added fats like butter and oil. And 17% comes from sugars like candies and sodas and other junk. 23% comes from grains, 5% from vegetables, 3% from fruit, and only 3% of calories from beans and nuts. So this is the standard American diet. This is the diet that's led to 42% of Americans being obese and 1 in 10 Americans being severely obese, which generally speaking means that a person is over 100 pounds overweight. Okay. The weight of this problem is tragically causing early death among millions of Americans. Being overweight and obese leads to the shortening of life expectancy, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes, hypertension and heart disease, acute arthritis, lung problems, digestive problems, depression and anxiety, and infertility, among other things. The fact is, we're eating ourselves into an early grave. And we're eating so much processed food, sweets, and meats, it's led the nation to be sick and mentally ill and struggling at every level on count of our nutrition. It seems unbelievable that 55% of our calories in the American diet are from sweets, processed grains, and oils. The total amount of fresh produce in our diet is less than 6%. So Americans are eating mostly animal products, commercially prepared baked goods, and oils. That means that about 95% of our calories don't contain any antioxidants or phytochemicals, which of course are essential to maintaining health and avoiding disease. But what they do is they promote weight gain because they stimulate fat storage in our hormones. And instead of burning the calories for energy, these hormones make sure that all of the fat that we're eating turns to fat that we wear. So sugars, sweets, and white flour products raise insulin production and promote the growth of new blood vessels as well. So insulin, of course, promotes fat storage, and the growth of blood vessels supply the highway that's needed to fuel more growth of fat. To make matters worse, the same foods that promote excessive insulin and weight gain also promote cancer. Okay, and then after that, we could take a look at the animal protein that everybody's eating. The risk in cancer increases with the increase of animal protein consumption. There was a large study that was published by a magazine called Cell Metabolism. They followed thousands of people for 18 years. These folks were average age between 50 and 65, and they found that the death rates went up 75% and cancer rates climbed 400% in those that ate a high animal protein diet. It's considered high if the participants average 18% or more calories from animal protein, and that is still less than most Americans are eating. So if you eat 25 servings of animal products per week, you will have a 400% increased risk of cancer and a 75% increased risk of dying prematurely compared to someone eating animal products 5 servings or less each week. That's what that would be. Okay, yet much of the industry that I've been a part of my whole adult life, the fitness industry, is still promoting low carb, high protein diets, which actually encourage people to eat as much as double the amount of animal protein that Americans are already eating on their own. And that, of course, is twice as much as this study considers to be high protein. And so if you want to increase your risk even more, just throw some sweets in with all the meats. Okay, so we know that the standard American diet is dangerous and that high protein diets are dangerous as well. But most other fad diets, most trendy diets that are out there are also dangerous, plus they don't even work. Studies have shown that when you lose weight on a trendy diet, for the most part, you're going to gain the weight back. And a lot of times you'll gain even more than you originally weighed. The amount of people that go on a fad diet, lose the excess body weight, and keep it off the rest of their life is extremely rare. Okay, plus when you go on a diet and you lose weight and you gain it back, you end up worse off than you were in the beginning and at a higher risk for disease. The lipogenic enzymes are ramped up with caloric restriction. So after you lose weight on a fad diet, these fat storage enzymes stay in a very elevated, excited state for many months after that. So if you go back to eating anything like you did before, you'll actually end up gaining the weight back plus some, and you'll most likely, again, overshoot what you originally weighed back quite a bit. Okay, and then that's big enough problem in and of itself. But the even worse part about this is the type of weight you gain back, and that boils down to the fat deposits, which are different when you perpetually lose and gain weight back when you yo-yo diet. Okay, the fat that is stored when you gain the weight back this way is more internal fat, and that's going to be the more dangerous fat that's going to be around your internal organs. We have two types of fat that we store in our body. The first is subcutaneous, and the second is visceral. The subcutaneous fat is what we have on our skin. So the fat that you see that you want to get rid of, that is the subcutaneous. But the visceral fat is deeper into your body. It's further in by your abdominal muscles and around your organs. You can't pinch it, and it's mixed in very closely with other, again, organs in your body. So when you diet, you mostly lose subcutaneous fat, but when you gain the weight right back through yo-yo dieting, you put on mostly visceral fat. So every time that you go on one of these crazy diets, you increase the amount of visceral fat in your body, and the visceral fat is what is going to make you diabetic and more likely to develop cancer. So yo-yo dieting with your weight going up and down also increases the risk of heart disease, because when you gain the fat back, the fat is placed more inside of your blood vessels. And that's why so many heart attacks happen during the holiday seasons or when people are on vacation and they binge eat. Okay, so there are 4 things to be concerned about with yo-yo dieting as far as fat stores are concerned. Okay, number 1, your stored fat becomes more visceral. Number 2, your stored fat becomes more saturated. Number 3, your blood vessels become more inflamed, which increases the risk of heart attacks. Number 4, you become more insulin resistant and diabetic prone. Okay, so if you take 2 women that are both 45 years old, both are about 160 pounds, but one of them has been on a fad diet for a long time and chronically loses and gains weight. The other has never really been on a diet at all, and she's maintained her weight for many years. The chronic dieter who's lost and gained the weight back multiple times is much more likely to already be pre-diabetic and be well on her way to diabetes and heart disease than the other woman who just maintained the weight the entire time. So that does not mean that you're not better off dropping the weight. What it means is you don't want to drop the weight in a way that's unsustainable. And so what you'll be excited to find out during this journey that we're on is there is a way to do that. There's a way to sustain weight loss permanently and not have to be on these yo-yo diet cycles, but also not be locked into this addictive, disease-promoting standard American diet. All right, so that's where we'll wrap this video up. Again, make sure you've taken some notes on this, and make sure you remember that the standard American diet is really the beginning and the end of most of our problems as it relates to nutrition in this country. I'll talk to you on the next video.